So here's our agenda for this morning. To kick us off, we've got 4 presentations to lay out some of those key concepts that we feel like underpin this living shoreline work. We'll take a quick break, and then after break, we have got, excuse me, our 4 different design teams that will be sharing some of their recommendations and design ideas for 4 specific sites around Great Bay. So I'm going to pass it over to Cory. Cory Riley is the manager of the Great Bay National Estuarine Research Reserve, and she's my boss, and she's wonderful.
Thank you, Lynn. And thanks for everybody who's here online and in person. This is it's a great project and it's fun to talk about. So thank you. So we're all here to talk about living shorelines. And the reason we're talking about them is because there's a demand to stabilize our shorelines and protect infrastructure, property from sea level rise, from the cumulative effects of land development, and from large storm events. And these edges between the water and the land are incredibly valuable in the number of ecosystem services that they provide to all of us. They provide critical habitat for fish and wildlife. They help filter to improve water quality. They sequester carbon, and they provide really important natural flood mitigation. But the way that we have traditionally handled stabilizing shorelines does not protect these services. And so this is not working. Yeah. And so knowing this, that the way that we traditionally build walls or riprap doesn't provide those valuable ecosystem services, we need to explore other approaches. And we're lucky in New Hampshire because we do have a few examples. This is Wagon Hill Farm in Durham. But when you're mimicking nature or trying to mimic nature's functions, it's incredibly site specific. There are a lot of engineering challenges. And this is an emerging science in New England. And so we recognized that we really needed to know more as a group of professionals in New Hampshire. And that includes, researchers, agency folks, and professionals. And so under the leadership of the Department of Environmental Services, we all put together a grant to advance and promote living shorelines in the Great Bay region. The funding came from the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation, and you can see the logos of all the organizations that were engaged. And we also, as Lynn mentioned, we're really excited to engage heavily with professional engineers, landscape architects, and people who are going to be actually building these structures in the future. So we really believe that the best way to learn anything is to try to solve a real world problem. So a big focus of today is going to be on 4 sites around Great Bay that have diverse landowner interests, ecological context, and unique challenges in order to see how you would go about designing a living shoreline in those contexts. As we go forward today, I just want to emphasize that the goal of this whole project was to promote responsible and thoughtful design of living shorelines. And we really want to promote the concepts and the approach over specific engineering solutions today. The other key goal was to create this network of people who might work in different organizations and in different contexts so that we have people to call as we all continue to learn how to do this in the future. And I'll just close with a couple of caveats about doing living shoreline work in New Hampshire and really everywhere. The first is that living shorelines are not a perfect approach everywhere. So really always, if you're interested in living shorelines, maintain an open mind and think about whether a do nothing approach or an abandoned approach is actually the right fit. The second caveat is that we are dealing with some complicated engineering that is combined with usually a complicated and very unique site. So be cautious, be careful, be thoughtful, because these are expensive solutions and there can be unintended consequences. And then finally, we really believe, and I think this project has shown, that the best approach to a living shoreline project is going to come from a multidisciplinary team that is creative, well-networked, and is thinking creatively across disciplines. And so we hope that through this project, we're really promoting that type of multidisciplinary work. And that really sets me up well to introduce our first speaker, Dr. Dave Burdick from the University of New Hampshire, who's going to go over a little bit of the science and rationale behind living shorelines. Dave?